Sometimes called a natural amphetamine, stuff this plant's leaves in your cheek and you'll get a jolt of energy. It's been compared to both harmless coffee and life-ruining cocaine. The truth, however, is probably somewhere in between. This is Khat.
Hey, I'm Tasha the Amazon, and you're watching Floralogic. Today we're talking about a natural upper that is one of the most widely used plant-based drugs in the world. While it goes by many names, depending on who you ask, I'm talking about Khat. Just kidding, it's pronounced Khat.
Khat edulis is an aromatic, drought-resistant evergreen shrub that grows abundantly in East Africa and the Arabian Peninsula. These shrubs, part of Celastraceae, otherwise known as the staff tree family, are tough and can grow in a variety of climates and soils, but prefer arid conditions. The practice of chewing this plant is rooted in the culture, history, and traditions of the people of this region.
The leaves of the drug called Khat are the chief source of pleasurable excitement in these districts of East Africa. That's what Charles Dickens had to say about this plant back in 1856. And not much has changed since then, with over 20 million people a day chomping on Khat's young leaves and twigs.
Khat is a natural stimulant, sometimes compared to a strong coffee, and has been cultivated and chewed for centuries as a recreational and socializing drug. Khat is predominantly used in Yemen, Kenya, Somalia, Ethiopia, Djibouti, Eritrea, and Uganda, where it's traded openly and used socially, being particularly beloved in regions in which alcohol is banned.
It's used mostly locally where it's grown, because the leaves need to be fresh for maximum potency. Khat, however, is still smuggled to Europe and North America, where it's either prohibited or outright illegal.
Khat is sometimes referred to as a natural amphetamine, since it works much the same way amphetamines do, albeit on a milder level. The main culprits that make Khat amphetamine-like are two alkaloids called cathinone and caffeine. Cathinone and caffeine release a kick of dopamine, a neurotransmitter that connects behavior with feelings of pleasure.
Dopamine is what screams, "That's incredible!" in your central nervous system when you do something it perceives as enjoyable. The chemicals in Khat also act as dopamine uptake inhibitors, meaning that they block dopamine transporters, which results in a concentration of these feel-good brain signals.
When chewed, Khat is said to create a state of euphoria and stimulation, which can lead to appetite loss and greater sociability. This can make chewers talkative, excited, and even hyperactive.
We've already covered a couple plants on Floralogic that have been traditionally chewed for their desirable effects.
Like Khat, coca leaves, the plant cocaine is derived from, are chewed as a traditional practice in South America to similarly suppress hunger and increase productivity. Betel nuts of Southeast Asia have also been chomped on for thousands of years for feelings of euphoria as well as greater alertness and work capacity. Unlike Khat and coca, which are chewed solo, however, betel nut leaves need to be combined with slaked lime to unleash their full intoxicating potential.
Traditionally, Khat is used to assist with study, heavy work, or even just as a morning pick-me-up. Medicinally, Khat is used for everything from obesity to fatigue, depression, stomach ulcers, and even male infertility. The first descriptions of Khat being used pharmaceutically date all the way back to the 11th century.
Khat is most commonly chewed like tobacco and kept in the cheek over hours to be chewed again and again, releasing more alkaloids. Cathinone, the stronger of the two, breaks down in about 48 hours, so freshness is essential to get the biggest kick out of this plant.
Khat is said to be pungent, tingly, and drying in the mouth, and it's often taken alongside sweet drinks to mask the astringent flavor. Less common ways to take Khat are in the form of dried leaves, which are less potent but can be made into a tea, sprinkled on food, made into chewable paste, or smoked.
As with all mind-altering substances, there are some dark sides to Khat. There's a long list of unwanted side effects if used excessively. In the wrong user, Khat can cause high blood pressure and heart palpitations. It can cause insomnia, irritability, anxiety, dizziness, impaired concentration, and reduced sexual potency in men. Some gastrointestinal side effects include constipation and urine retention. Much like amphetamines that suppress hunger, Khat can also cause anorexia. In extreme cases and at high doses, it can even cause paranoid psychosis, mania, and dependency.
Khat dependency not only has a physical impact, but also a financial one, as the leaves are not cheap.
When it comes to the World Health Organization's stance on Khat, let's just say it's been evolving over the years. In 1971, the WHO classified both cathinone and caffeine as Schedule 1 and Schedule 3 substances, with Schedule 1 being the baddest of the bad.
By 1980, the WHO had decided that Khat only causes mild to moderate psychological dependence, based almost solely on animal models.
More recently, the WHO committee reviewed the data on khat and came to the conclusion that its risk for abuse and dependency are relatively low, and that it doesn't pose a significant enough threat to public health to be internationally controlled.
So when Dickens said, "These leaves are chewed and act upon the spirits of those using them, much as a strong dose of green tea acts upon us in Europe when it acts agreeably," he might have had the right idea. Then again, this was also at a time when cocaine was considered the newest wonder drug. So who's to say?
While khat is mostly consumed by men, its sale in countries like Kenya, where it's known as miraa, is dominated by women. The khat industry in Kenya alone brings in $400,000 a day.
The women who sell khat are mostly those who are single either by divorce or death, and who started selling the leaves to support themselves and their children.
But it's not just sales. Women appear all along the khat supply chain, from cultivation to distribution. Because khat is so drought resistant, it's been less affected by climate change, meaning that this source of income is more of a guarantee than other crops.
Khat is relatively cheap to grow and doesn't take much more than basic agricultural knowledge to make it thrive. While women in sub-Saharan Africa are grossly underrepresented in most industries, 60% of employed women in this region work in some agricultural capacity, meaning that they overwhelmingly have the skill and knowledge to cultivate this plant.
Since it can be harvested 4 times a year, khat also has great yield. And because of this drug's addictive nature, the demand for it will likely never dry up. On the flip side, it's a dangerous business for women, since their farms are always at risk of being robbed, and the farmers themselves are in danger of beatings and sexual assault. Many female khat farmers employ security to protect not just their plants, but themselves as well.
Are these women modern-day drug lords or peddlers of a substance no more concerning than coffee? The debate about the good and evil of khat rages on. So what should we talk about next? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for new episodes every week. Toodaloo! Today we're talking about a natural upper that's one of the world's most widely used plant-based drugs in the world. The leaves of the drug called Africa. Districts. Top of the day. Dopamine is what screams, "That's incredible!" in your search and while women in sub-Saharan Africa are grossly underestimated. Just waiting on the cops, hiding out, just waiting for the cops, waiting for the cops, waiting for the cops, waiting for the cops and the sun and the cops and the sun to come back out. Are these women modern-day drug lords or peddlers? Brr, peddling on the bikes. This is awesome! That's incredible! That's awesome!